Al Capone was America's most notorious gangster. Born in Brooklyn in 1899, he was involved in gang activities from the age of 11. By the time he was 19, he had murdered at least 2 men while working in gang-operated drinking establishments. After beating a rival gang member so badly that the man was hospitalized, Capone's mafia mentor sent him from New York to Chicago. In Chicago, Capone's combination of intelligence and ruthlessness led to his rapid promotion within the gang structure. He eventually gained operational control over a large number of saloons, gambling houses, and brothels. Capone proved to be a superior organizer, and under his leadership, the criminal enterprise vastly expanded. He systematically murdered his rivals, sometimes with his own hands, but usually through contract killers. He bribed and threatened the police and political leaders. At his height, Capone's annual income probably surpassed $100 million a year. Knowing that he was always a target both of rival gangsters and the authorities, Capone was exceedingly careful to protect himself from harm or prosecution. He always established an alibi prior to murdering his enemies. He avoided any paper trail that might document his sources of income. In fact, he claimed to have no income at all. By maintaining an extensive spy network throughout Chicago, he was alerted to danger or new police pressure. Because of his vigilance, he never faced a serious attempt on his life. Multiple efforts to prosecute him for his violent crimes were all unsuccessful. Capone's downfall came from a completely unforeseen direction. Like other gangsters of his era, Capone believed that the profits from his illegal activities were not subject to tax laws. Using little-known legislation, federal prosecutors pressured Capone's accountant to provide testimony and physical evidence of his illegal profits. Having established profits, they then successfully charged him with federal tax evasion. The novel prosecution strategy surprised and infuriated Capone. Neither he nor his well-paid attorneys could defend against it. Despite attempts to plea bargain and tamper with the jury, he was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison, most of which he served at Alcatraz. By the time he was released 7.5 years later, Capone was mentally unable to resume his business, probably due to tertiary syphilis. Despite remarkable preparation and vigilance, America's public enemy number 1 was defeated by an attack from an unanticipated direction. Jesus told a similar story in Luke 14, a parable of spiritual ruin arising from unexpected sources. It began with an offhand remark about who would go to heaven. When one of those at the table with him heard this, he said to Jesus, "Blessed is the man who will eat at the feast in the kingdom of God." Jesus replied, "A certain man was preparing a great banquet and invited many guests. At the time of the banquet, he sent his servant to tell those who had been invited, 'Come, for everything is now ready.' But they all alike began to make excuses. The first said, 'I have just bought a field and I must go and see it. Please excuse me.' Another said, 'I've just bought 5 yoke of oxen and I'm on my way to try them out. Please excuse me.' Still another said, 'I just got married so I can't come.' The servant came back and reported this to his master. Then the owner of the house became angry and ordered his servant, 'Go out quickly into the streets and alleys of the town and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame.' 'Sir,' the servant said, 'what you ordered has been done, but there is still room.' Then the master told his servant, 'Go out into the roads and country lanes and make them come in, so that my house will be full. I tell you, not one of those men who were invited will get a taste of my banquet.'" Parable, a story that uses familiar objects or circumstances to teach profound spiritual truths. The original Greek word means to lay things side by side. In this parable, the comparisons are not difficult to discern. The rich master represents the one true God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The banquet is a picture of God's kingdom, including heaven. A banquet in the ancient Middle East was a place of joy and celebration, a place of rejoicing, laughing, dancing, and, at least in Jesus' day, a little wine drinking. The invitees represent those who are called to enjoy God's banquet, not primarily the master's gifts, but that which is most valuable and most pleasurable, his very person. Jesus' original audience must have been perplexed by the story, especially with the Master's scathing final pronouncement. Not one of those who are invited will get a taste of my banquet. The 3 invitees were excluded from the heavenly banquet, but why? They weren't guilty of murder. They hadn't committed adultery or some other obvious sin. Their rejection arose from an unexpected place, from their devotion to life's good things, the sort of things that we usually thank God for. They allowed the pleasure they received from these seemingly good things to eclipse the most desirable and pleasure-giving thing in the universe. By their own volition, they chose these good things over the all-surpassing good of the Master and his feast. They were brought down in unexpected ways. A field, teams of oxen, a spouse. What possible spiritual evil can come from these seemingly good gifts? How can these keep one from God's kingdom, even from heaven?